What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and today I'm bringing you guys a Crusadia Kaiju deck profile. Now, this, in my opinion, is the OG, like the original way to play Crusadia. But what happened was after the Guard Dragons came out and with the baby Chaos Dragons, obviously with Draco in this deck, the Guard Dragon variant became the more popular one and the more played one today. Now, don't get me wrong, that variant is very, very good, and I think I have a deck profile of that variant on the channel already, so if you guys want to go check that out, it is on the channel. I'll probably leave a link in the description. If not, it's on the channel. You guys can check that out. But this is the original way of playing Crusadia, where you have a Kaiju, you have your Crusadias, you can make Equimax, and then essentially what you would do is you would Equimax OTK, assuming everything goes through properly, and then all you would ever need is 2 Crusadia monsters and a Kaiju, and I'm pretty sure, actually, I am very sure that with 2 Crusadians and a Kaiju, you would have full combo and the OTK with Equimax. So that's why this build is pretty much the OG build, but it is updated in the sense that now, because our format is different than what it used to be when this deck came out, it is updated to play against Striker, to play against Salad, to play against Orcus, and whatnot. So this is Crusadia Kaijus, essentially. I would just say, like, the purest version of Crusadia as possible, because otherwise, like, you are playing every Crusadia monster in here, essentially, right? Before we do get into the deck profile though, guys, I am almost at 1,000 subscribers. If you guys could go and subscribe to the channel and like the video while you're at it, I would very much appreciate that, guys. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. I couldn't be here without you guys, so thank you guys for that, and let's get right into the deck profile. Now, I don't think a lot of these cards need a lot of explaining, but I'll just essentially explain the basics. Where Crusadia Maximus, and if you guys have played the Guard Dragon variant, I should say, if you guys have played the Guard Dragon variant, this card is not as important as it is in this variant. But in this variant, what it essentially lets you do is it lets you target one of your Crusadia Link monsters, and then the attack damage that it deals is doubled. So essentially, that's why Equimax can become an OTK, because this under Equimax makes it at 36. Plus, if there's anything here, that's why you would have a Kaiju, and with the Kaiju, you have the OTK, and then it'll do like the double damage, which is obviously really, really good. So in this, like, it helps you OTK, right? So this is the most important one, whereas in the Guard Dragon variant, Draco is the most important one. Now, Draco is still really good in this deck, and you still need to play 3 of all of them, in my opinion. And the reason for that is because you need to see double Crusadia monsters, like 2 different Crusadia monsters plus a Kaiju is OTK, right? So you want to still max them out regardless of whether they're better in this variant or the other variant. Draco is obviously better in the other variant, but of course in this variant it's not bad. I mean, it gives you a Crusadia card back to your hand, and a lot of the time is if you'll normal summon your Maximus to start the play, because if you open Maximus Draco, it's actually probably one of the best combos, because you'll normal Maximus, you'll go Magius, and then you'll summon this, and then you'll recur the Maximus. And the reason that's good is because you actually didn't use the Maximus effect to special summon itself, which is why Draco is actually still very, very good. Probably the second best one after Maximus in this profile. And then Arborea protects all your Crusadia monsters. Very, very good, obviously. Triple Leonis and triple Reclusia. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, I used to play double Leonis because Leonis isn't that great. He helps you do piercing damage, which is obviously really, really good. And like later in the game, it's pretty good as well. But the reason I didn't like 3 of him is because the piercing damage never really came up. But essentially what I found myself is, like, I wouldn't draw enough Crusadias with only like 2 of this, which kind of sounds weird because you're only cutting down 1 more Crusadia. But this is actually very important to play the 3rd of. So I just play 3 of everything so that you can make sure you can see it. And the thing is, they don't brick, right? If you open a hand of full Crusadia cards, you can just play through like 2 hand traps, 3 hand traps, because you can keep summoning your Crusadia monsters, right? None of them are bricks, and obviously they're really good opening them. So that's it for the Crusadia monsters. So for the Kaijus, you are playing 1 GZQ, 1 Dogoran, double Humongous, and double Gameciel. So I'm decided to play 6. I was gonna play 5 only essentially, but the reason I decided to play 6 was because a lot of the time, if you open just one of these with double Crusadia, like I said already, you win, right? So why not play more of these? Now, you don't want to play too many, because you also don't want to open like 3. Opening 2 is not bad, because you can obviously special summon 1 to your side of the field, which is obviously not bad. But if opening 3, in my opinion, is really bad, so that's why I just kept it at 6. And then the different names, obviously, I'm playing double Gameciel, double Humongous, just because, like, if you draw one of them, at least you can draw into a different one with a different name, right? And then you can get a free one on your side of the field. That's what for the Kaijus. And that's it for the monsters, honestly. Other than the Crusadias, that's it. Like, the Crusadias and these are all you need. 6 Kaijus is really enough. Obviously, you play Slumber, so you can even get to these if you don't draw into them, which is why this deck, in my opinion, is really good. So for the spell cards, for the Crusadia spell cards, you play 1 Power, double Testament, and 1 Revival. Now, Testament is a new card. So I guess this is post Dane, you could say. Testament is a new card, and essentially kind of acts like Power, but the reason it's a little bit better, in my opinion, is because it can like serve as a also like an extender in a sense. So basically your opponent cannot activate cards in response to the activation of your Crusadia monsters. That's obviously really good, but the reason I play 1 power is because power makes them unaffected by card effects, whereas this they can't respond, right? But so something like effect veiler or impermanence you don't need to respond with impermanence, right? So you can still imperm an Equimax, for example, without responding to its effect or responding to anything, right? So that's why this card is really, really good, but Veiler and Imperm obviously dodges this card, whereas Power doesn't. So sometimes if you're like scared of an Imperm or you know an Imperm's coming, Testament or Power is just a little bit better, which is why I played 2 and 1. And then Revival just helps you OTK. Obviously, drawing any of these cards is not bad. Testament is also really good. I feel like I should explain this because if your opponent, like for example, so a lot of the time is if your opponent has a couple hand traps or whatever, and you choose like you can't or not choose necessarily, but if you cannot OTK them for whatever means, what happens is you can actually just activate Testament right after the damage calculation, and then target your Link monster, and then you draw cards equal to its Link rating. So the thing is, if you have an Equimax on board, and let's say for some reason you don't OTK them, right? What you'll do is at the end of damage calc, you can activate the Testament from your hand and then draw, like literally just draw 3 cards. Like how is that bad, right? That's not bad at all. That's really good. So that's why obviously Testament, again, really good card. That's it for the Crusadia spells. I'm playing double Slumber. Slumber is back at 3 now, but I only play double. You don't need 3 anymore. Like you could play 3 theoretically to see it faster, but the thing is, a lot of the times this card will just get like negated if you see it too quick. So because a lot of people will set up like big boards where this card will just get negated. So that's why I don't play 3 of them. Double of them is just enough. Plus with 6 kaijus, you're probably gonna see a kaiju in your opening hand. So if you don't see one of the kaijus with this, essentially you have 8 kaijus in your deck. So that's why I just play the double. You can play triple if you want, I guess, but I like to play double. Triple instant fusion because you want to see this because you can go into Thousand Eyes Restrict, which is obviously really good because it also helps you OTK your opponent and helps you also out problematic monsters. If you guys want to, you could cut 1 instant fusion and play the 3rd Slumber and then just play double instant fusion. Still not bad. Does the same job, same thing, whatever you guys prefer. Triple MST. Now, you can play Cosmic Cyclone because you're going to OTK a lot of the time anyways. So you can play Cosmic Cyclone. I don't think you can play Twin Twister because you have no real graveyard recursion in this. But you can play Cosmic Cyclone. The reason I don't play Cosmic Cyclone is because I play Artifacts. And I'll show you guys the side deck and everything later. But I play Artifacts in the side deck. The thing is, drawing one of your Artifacts is really bricky, obviously, right? But when you play the MSTs, at least it kind of plays around those bricks. Because if you draw a Scythe, you can MST your own Scythe on your opponent's turn, right? You can't Cosmic Cyclone your own Scythe. So MST is obviously really good. You don't have to discard because you need cards in your hand in this deck. But let's say you open, like I said, 2 Crusadia monsters, a Kaiju, and then like maybe like an MST and one of these, you pretty much win the game, right? So, because this will just out stuff. So no matter what, you'll have... Like, the reason you play stuff like this is because you want to be able to break your opponent's board and just win. Triple Call by the Grave. Oh, by the way, if you guys haven't noticed, I'm playing no hand traps, right? So whatever your opponent does, it's going to go through, which is why, again, the Kaijus, the Slumbers, the Instant Fusions, you need to be able to break their board because they're going to make a board. Triple Called. Now, even though you're not going first, Called is still really, really good in this deck because... your combos need to go through essentially, and then even against something like Sky Striker, which this deck has an amazing Sky Striker matchup, but this card essentially what it does is if your opponent starts to like recur stuff, Called is obviously really, really good. Even going second, you don't OTK them, you can just set it. 1 Rhoda because you can search Arborea, and obviously this is basically another Crusadia monster, so instead of 15 or whatever it is, it's 16, I guess, if that's the number. 1 Monster Reborn and 1 World Legacy Succession. The reason I play Succession is it's actually searchable in this deck, and this is the only trap I play, which is a Crusadia Crawler. So essentially, if you set this card, if you don't think you can OTK, what you do is you'll search this off Regulus and set this card, and then on your opponent's standby phase, you'll put it under Equimax. So basically, Equimax will have a negate, right? So basically, you'll get an Equimax negate, but then when this is summoned to a zone, you can search any World Legacy card that you control, or sorry, in your deck. So usually what you'll do is you'll search the World Legacy Succession for next turn, and then you'll just basically OTK next turn. That's it for the main deck. It is a 40 card main deck. If you guys have any changes, obviously let me know, but I think this is the best ratios. If you guys want to cut, again, like I said, 1 Instant Fusion for 1 Slumber, you could do that perfectly fine, but this is what I like. So for the extra deck, you are playing triple Crusadia Magius, double Regulex, 1 Spatha. Spatha is not important in this deck not as important as it is in the Guard Dragon variant because you don't need to move your cards. However, the reason Spatha is actually not bad in this is because if your opponent, let's say, makes a board, but like let's say it's no negates or anything, but they just have a big monster and you don't draw into a Kaiju, what you can do is essentially you can summon the Spatha, so you can move their card into a zone, into like an extra monster zone area, so that when you make your Equimax, which I should show you right now, when you make your Equimax, it'll be pointing to the Equimax so that you get the Equimax effect, which is why Spath is still really good, because you don't need it as much and you don't go into it as much, but when you do, it's obviously like, it's basically replaces a Kaiju if like you don't have a Kaiju, right? Then you are playing the one Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. Now, the reason I played this, I was going to actually play a Borreload, but the reason I played this over Borreload is because even though Borreload, this is kind of like the same as kind of Borreload, like it gets the same, like it's good. It's one of those big boss monsters. But the reason I like to play this a little bit more is because it has Crusadia in the name. So because it has Crusadia in the name, you can actually use Crusadia Power, Crusadia Testament, or Crusadia Revival on this card, which is obviously really, really good. It'll help you just OTK as well. It'll help you set up a monster that can't be basically outed. It'll be really hard to out this card. Then you're playing double Increbo. The reason you play double Increbo is literally just for the Thousand Eyes Restrict. Then you play one Phoenix, one Cerberus, and obviously, like I said, double Thousand Eyes Restrict. This is for your instant fusion target. You instant fusion, you take something, you make Increbo. Now you have a zone. And then what this is really cool is now that you have a zone, you can summon obviously Crusading monsters and whatnot, whatever. But then a lot of the time, what you'll do is if you can't out problematic stuff or whatever, you make your Increbo, you make it in one of your nightmare monsters under it. Once you make it under it, you can obviously get the extra draw with this and whatever you need. So obviously Increbo is really, really good in this deck. That's a 15 card extra deck, and then we'll get into the side deck. So for the side deck, you are playing one Artifact Scythe, one Artifact Mortec, and triple Artifact Lancia. That's the only monsters you're playing in the side deck. Lancia is really good, obviously, because it's going first or going second. It actually works really well in this deck. So that's why Lancia is just the one that you play 3 of. One more attack on one side though, because you don't want to really draw into them. Then you're playing triple Artifact Sanctum. Sanctum gets you to all of these, and that's why I said Lancia is actually not bad going first in this deck either, because if you know you're playing against something like Orcust, obviously Scythe is really good, but let's say you draw the Scythe or whatever that means is, what you can do is you can Sanctum your Lancia, and then obviously that's really good in its own, because you can just tribute the Lancia from your side of the field. So that's why I really like the Sanctum, and everything in the side deck is essentially for going first, and I'll show you guys. Everything in the side deck is for going first, because going second, you're going to win, right? Going second, you're going to OTK your opponent, so everything in here is essentially for going first. The Lancia is the only exception where you can actually use it going second, right? Triple, there can only be one, and now you guys might be wondering, like, why are you playing there can only be one? This deck is actually really, really good to play around this, basically, because all of the Crusadia monsters, I'll show you guys right here. All the Crusadia monsters are like Warrior, Dragon, Psychic, Beast. So you can actually play around there can only be one, or there can be only one, really easily in this deck. Even the extra deck monsters are all different attribute or types as well. So that this could be a really good floodgates a lot of decks. Triple Strike, going first, one of the better cards. Beat Striker. I mean, you beat Striker anyways, but one of the better cards. And then one Imperial Order, obviously. This is just a 15th card. If you don't want to play the Order, I think Order is like good once you set up a board, if they force you to go first and whatnot. But the thing is, it does shut off a lot of your spells, and you are playing a fair amount of spells. It's just really good if like you're forced to go first against Striker. Obviously, drawing this card is insanely good. You basically just win at that point, right? But this is just a 15th card. If you guys want to change it for something else, you can. I mean, no one's stopping you. You can play double. Like you can. I considered cutting Lancia down to 2. And then playing double Pancatrops. That's another option that you guys could do. But that's it for the 15 card side deck. This is, again, mostly just for going first, because going second, you're pretty much going to win anyways. So if you guys enjoyed this deck profile, please like and subscribe to the channel. Again, if you guys want to see anything on the channel, let me know in the comment section down below. Again, guys, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, I should say. And I couldn't be here without you guys. So I appreciate every single one of you guys. And I guess with that, Spanko signing out. Peace.